And if there are, regional consultants that are so successful that are still in the field, which there are,
Yeah.
why in the hell would you want to do that? Because you're brainwashed.
So the first question I always ask everyone is, how did you first get started in the business? What were you looking for? How did you get involved?
Well, the joke on my promotion day that followed me the whole hellbound trip through Smart Circle was that I didn't want anything that the business had to offer. I was the business is generally geared towards fresh out of college kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was 25 when I got in. I'd had a lot of personal family stuff going on. I lost both my parents. I moved 3,000 miles twice. So I had a lot going on, and frankly, I just needed a job. And like probably most people, I did not apply for sales. I did not apply, certainly not to be an owner of a business. I think I applied for HR or PR, something like that. And I remember sitting down in the first interview. I basically told him I don't want to travel. I just did 3,000-mile move twice. I don't want to be a teacher because my whole family was teachers, and he's talking about, how much teaching goes into the business and training your new guys and whatnot. And I didn't want to do sales. And he was basically like, yeah, well, we do all three of those. And I was like, well, shit. But at the end of the day, I was always very education based. I wanted to learn. I liked teaching kind of, but not in the way that he was describing it. I didn't want to be in a classroom, which you get up in front of the board and you're basically a teacher.
Right.
But he sent me to the second round interview, and I was like, I really don't have anything to lose. Again, just kind of need a job. And I was sitting there in the second interview literally staring at what I would be doing, and I still didn't get it. Because everything they tell you is just so vague and cloaked in, roundabout ways of explaining things. And honestly went to the third interview really not understanding why there were so many interviews, first off.
Right.
But still not really understanding what it was that I would actually be doing. They talked about the whole relocation thing, and I just never saw myself getting that far. Because it was just a job, until you get the claws sunk in you too deep, you don't really see it. But I kind of, like most people, probably just started out just needing a job, and the further in you get, the further harder it is to get out, obviously. But
right.
It's just ironic that the more blind you are and the more brainwashed you are, it equals more quote-unquote success in their minds.
Going back to what you said here, and you said it in the message too, about nothing about what they said the job offered really appealed to you. So obviously something had to at some point for you to have stayed in as long as you did to become an owner. So what exactly was it that sold it to you?
I think there are definitely aspects that appeal to different people in different ways, but for me it was always helping people. It was less about reaching my own goals, which at the time, honestly, I didn't know what the hell they were. I didn't foresee myself staying there. But I liked helping other people get to their aha moment and reach their own goals. I liked I've always been a people person, just naturally helping, helpful, I guess. So I liked the camaraderie. I liked the people because we were, all kind of brainwashed and running around like chickens with our heads cut off together. So it creates a little bit of that bond. But they're very good at shrouding the truth. So until you're, like I said, until you're in it, you don't really know what it is.
Regarding the company you owned,
Mhm.
one of the Glassdoor reviews I came across of called your company, and I'll quote, incredibly misleading and unprofessional. Do you feel that that's like a correct review of what was going on in your business, or at least alluding to some of the things that were happening?
Absolutely. There were definite lies. Like they teach you your script, you regurgitate the script is a lie, flat out. Um, my the way that my business went down, my guys definitely deserved better, and I wish I could have given them better. It's it's striking to look back at now because you don't realize your hands are tied in the moment, um, until you really learn what their MO is and how they operate behind the scenes, and you never get that until you're in it. So getting the reviews and everything in the moment, it's like, well, I did this because this, and you don't see behind the scenes, and you don't understand, and a year, 2 years, whatever down the line later, it's yeah, that was shitty, and yeah, my hands were tied, but yeah, it was a bad card for everybody. And in terms of the logistics, um, they don't teach you. They don't teach you, and they don't open the door all the way. Um, it's kind of, hey, silver platter, here's everything we promised you, everything you wanted, everything you've worked for. Just sign the dotted line. Trust me, we'll take care of everything else. So you use their lawyer team, unless daddy's a lawyer, you use him, you like, unless you know somebody, which again, if they're aiming to bring in a bunch of college kids, not a big network there for most college kids. So you use their legal team, you use their HR team in terms of like payroll and W-2s and I-9s and all the legal paperwork behind hiring someone, because unless you've owned a business before, all of this is new.
Right.
And I'm going to go with 98% of us probably never owned a business before. So you use their payroll department. You use Anguiano Consulting. And if something goes wrong on their end and that sets back your pay date for your employees, maybe it didn't start with you, but you're the face of the company, you get the brunt. And that's fair, because it's your employees that aren't getting paid. And I'd have been pissed too. My check was 2 days late.
Sure. Yeah. Which, I mean, technically, as an owner of your own business, you should be able to control that. But as anyone who's watching these by now should know, you don't own your own business in this company, even though they tell you that. So in your email to us, you said, quote, I was rushed and manipulated into taking over a failing market, had more shows than reps when I started, and through my 9 or so months as an owner, invested about $12,000 into it. So if you don't mind, take me through that 9 months of ownership. First, how do you feel that you were rushed into it and manipulated to be there?
I very much did not want to move. Again, I just went through Pennsylvania to California move twice within 3 years or so. I wasn't, jazzed about moving again. So I had that discussion with my PO, and I was around for a while. I waited. The illusion and the unspoken kind of on the table offer was that I would be able to take over that market that I went through the field in, because my owner was progressing, because he had enough outside deals, he was doing the right things in the minds of the higher ups. So I waited, and I stuck around, and I paid my dues and did everything I was supposed to do, and I was supposed to take over the same market. Promotion came around, wheels behind the scenes start moving, and this opportunity comes up to move down to the market I ended up moving to in San Diego. And it was very like go, 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 go from there. It wasn't really presented to me. It was assumed that I would take it because it theoretically met my goals of not wanting to move away from my family, of not wanting to move out of California. And they find out, what you're motivated by. They find out what you want and where you want to be and what you want to do, and they definitely use that against you. So for me, that office had just promoted somebody else out maybe a year before that, if that, to that San Diego market. So our network of offices that came out of my original office took over that territory, which was where roadshows started, and it's such a good market, and there's Smart Circle history in San Diego. It's a good one. And at the time, I didn't know the real reason behind why that office was opening. I was just told that the owner that was there wanted to move up to a NorCal territory, which is where his family was, and it makes sense for him, and blah, blah, blah. That was his long-term goal, and he's doing so well that they wanted to give him his long-term goal. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Not what I found out down the line was really happening. The NorCal market was failing so poorly, just doing so badly, that the SoCal market, they just needed to get somebody up there to fix it. And the problems that were going on in SoCal didn't get fixed before the move to NorCal. So the opportunity is presented to me. I'm doing a lot of air quotes. It's because everything's fake. Everything's so wrong. So this opportunity is presented for me to go down to San Diego, take over an office with, 15 people already there. It's already up and running. The relationships in the stores are already built. The guys are already locked in. Everything's well and good. You don't need to take a big team, because when you move, you got to take people with you, because theoretically you're going to an empty territory with, no stores set up. There's no office there, so you've got to hire, but you go in with 5-6 shows already booked for you. Mm-hmm. So you need to take guys from your original office down with you. The fewer guys you bring, the fewer shows you can run. So I went down with 2-3 people, because I had a full office already. You don't need to bring a lot of people when you've already got it set up. So I get down there, and to this day, I don't know what the hell was going on down there, but we supposedly did everything right. We had meetings, I met the guys, there was a smooth transition where the previous owner was still there for a while, still running the office for a few days while, my guys and me kind of just integrated in. I don't know what was going on with the culture, the environment, the people. I don't know what happened, but I had maybe 2 days, and people, one by one, gone. I had people leaving in the middle of their shifts, done. I signed up for this company. I didn't interview for this company. I didn't sign paperwork for, we ended up signing paperwork, obviously, for legality purposes, but it's I didn't sign up for this. I was motivated by this person, lied to by this person, tricked by this person to do this job. And it's a weird business. It's weird. There's a reason that they teach us and they train us and they mold us how to answer this question of, what the hell are you doing for work? I've never heard of this company. What do you mean you're connected to Smart Circle but not really? And how far into it did most of us get before we realized the connection to Smart Circle?
Yeah.
All these companies are all connected, but they're all supposedly separate. So it's very difficult to understand when you're in it. It's very difficult to explain to someone else. And it's very difficult to come into an office that's already run under a different incorporated name and tell them, hey, you're not going to work for this company anymore, you're going to work for this company. It's very confusing, and it's pretty jarring.
So you mentioned as an owner you invested about $12,000 into your business. Was that based on the sales of your staff, or was that from somewhere else?
Straight out of my own pocket. When I first took over the market, I think we had like 8 or 9 shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then all those people quit. They don't tell you what happens to those shows. So you've got 5 people, 9 shows. I was an English major, but I'm good with that now. That's not gonna work. And they don't tell you how to fix it. Their options are figure it out or get rid of your shows, because you are not allowed to cancel a Costco show. And my market was all Costco's. I had one Sam's. You know, we all know and say, you know, we're wrapping up interviews. We're going to be done.
Yeah.
We're never. You interview 5 days a week, 365 days a year, every week, no matter what. You always constantly have this revolving door of recruiting, because you always have this constant turnover, because people get in and they realize what it is and they quit. So it's kind of difficult to staff shows with no people. It's kind of difficult to recruit when you have no one train them. And it's kind of difficult to keep your own damn mentality when you're inside of this. So this constant lie is going on of you're doing great, and look at all of this stuff that you can have when you get into ownership, but you yourself are struggling. So at one point I was given the option of the retrain. Mm-hmm. Which you never hear about in entry level, because that's negative, that's taboo, that's you don't want to get to that point. And when you do hear about it, it's an opportunity that was presented to an owner who was doing well but could have been doing better, so they chose to put their business on hold and shadow one of the best in the business, and oh my gosh, they learned so much, and look at them now, and they become this success story for Smart Circle, when in reality they weren't making Smart Circle money, so Smart Circle shut them down. Or Smart Circle gave them the option to completely uproot their life again, because they could have moved from Pennsylvania to Georgia to open their business, and then moved to Chicago to overlap on another owner, and then move back to Georgia. Like, they want to ping pong you all over the United States as long as it benefits them. And if it doesn't, then you're out.
Yeah.
But that was the choice, was you can either, because you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your guys, you have to pay, all these list of bills. And if your business isn't making money, which in my case shows people there's no way to turn a profit, then you have to either shut down, retrain, or pay for it yourself. And I was so brainwashed at the time of thinking, I'm good, I can, as long as I get the guys in here, I was confident in my own, teaching ability, that I could train them, because I was good in the field. Mm-hmm. That I was like, yeah, let's just, cool, you tell me it's only going to be a month or so, yeah, I can do that, totally, I'll pay for it. I was that invested.
Wow. You eventually decided to close down, or were forced to close down, but you obviously believed in the opportunity for the over 2 years you were in the business. When did you start to legitimately have doubts that this wasn't going to lead to anything?
Probably around that point, around the point of ultimatums. I didn't like that. You give up so much for the business from day one. You miss time with your family, you miss time with your friends, you miss one-in-a-lifetime opportunities of your best friend getting married, or a funeral, or whatever it is. They always say, miss one wedding now and you'll never miss another wedding, but it's like, who's to say what that priority is? Like, they get to prioritize whose wedding you get to miss and which funeral you can't attend. And it's like, too bad for your friends. They should have chose to get married 2 years later. Like, then you could have attended maybe. But it's this whole time now for time later thing they teach you. It's like, whose definition of later? Because you go through the field and it's give your time now in the field and you can have your time later when you're an owner. Because you see your owner put on this front, which of course they teach you to do, of dress nice, have yourself put together, boast about what your successes are, because you want to show your new guys this perfection that they want to become. Because who wants to be an owner who's always in the field? Who wants to be the owner who's doing the same shit that you've been doing, selling mediocre products, let's be real, for the last year? It's not something to aspire to. And yet, what is it that they teach you your first year of ownership? Is be in the field every day with your guys. Always be training your guys. Get in the field, get in the field, get in the field. Well, what is it that you just told me in the field where once I graduate that and I get into ownership, I don't have to do that shit anymore? So it's this roundabout circle of no exit. You can't get out of it. You're always going to be in the field. And if there are, regional consultants that are so successful that are still in the field, which there are.
Yeah.
Why in the hell would you want to do that? Because you're brainwashed. That's the only explanation of why on earth someone would put themselves through this to get to that point. Because they put this pretty polish on it of, I choose to go in the field with you. I choose to work 11 to 7 every day in the field, which, let's be real, it really starts at 6 a.m. and ends at 10.
Right.
And then you're doing all the logistics afterwards. It's funny because you're in entry level and you're told these lies and you're manipulated in these ways, just to get to that position of leadership. That's what we all worked for, right? Mm-hmm. And once you get into leadership, you're taught how to deliver the same lies and the same manipulation and the same, the same mind fuck. And you don't realize that that's the same thing they just did to you because you're too deep into it now. But it's just funny that loop continues and you don't realize that the tricks you're playing on entry level are the same tricks that were played on you to get you to that position. It's just like, stick with it and I promise you'll get this. And you get to that point and they're like, just kidding, keep going. And then I promise you'll get it. And then you go to that next checkpoint. No, keep going. You're so close. And there's no finish line in sight. There's no end.
So I'm assuming, like many, you were lured into the business with the script. Once you make an owner, you'll make $75,000 to $100,000 a year. You don't have to give me an exact number, but did the reality come close to the promise for you?
No, not at all. I think the highest, even personally, that I ever heard of a rookie owner making in their first year was maybe $50K. You pay yourself what you make in the field.
Right.
So theoretically, you're supposed to be so good in the field that when you get promoted to owner, the fact that you only have really half a day in the field, unless you have Costco's and it's a little longer, it shouldn't really matter. Because you're so good in the field, you should be able to make that up. But when you have interviews for your first half of the day, and then you only get half of the day in the field, which means you're basically going, like I said, 6 a.m. to 10 at night, you're not really making much. You're making field money, if that. Because you don't really get as much solo time. I mean, you make your own schedule, which again, nobody really teaches you strategically how to do that
Mm-hmm.
because you want to set your guys up for success so they don't fall off and they don't leave. But you also have to pay your own bills, so you want to give yourself your own solo time. But you also want to be in the field training your guy so they can train the next guy, so they can train the next guy. And it you're not given enough of those options to choose from and pick from and put something together.
Yeah.
Like you can either do this or this. You can't do both. It's not all the time possible. You have to form yourself into this, like I said, perfect person so everybody else wants to be you. So all your entry level guys want to be you. But if you're attracting sharp guys, like you're supposed to be interviewing and hiring sharp guys, they're gonna look at you and figure out that you're in the field every day.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna look at you and figure out, hey, you've got 5 outside deals, or you're a regional consultant. Why are you in the field still?
Sure. Yeah, and for me, like the guy whose office I opened up, it was justified. Well, he's a new business owner, so of course he's going to be in the field for a while because he wants to build up the business and all that stuff. So it fell right in line with the script. Yeah, but like you said, after a while, if you have outside deals and you've been an owner for 5 years,
Yeah.
why are you still going to the field? And it flies in direct contrast to another thing they teach you in the business, which is you'll have whatever you're motivated by. If you're motivated by financial wealth, you'll be wealthy. If you're motivated by free time, you'll have free time or family time or whatever, and you don't get any of those things. So it's an incredible set of lies that the entire business is built on.
Yeah, I'd argue you get less as an owner. You have less free time. You have less money. You have less fame or fortune or whatever the F's of motivation were or whatever those were. You eat last. I think there was literally a meeting that was called Leaders Eat Last. So if the leaders eat last, what the hell is the owner doing?
So in your email, you continued, quote, I was bullied over not informing my promoting owner about my relationship with my girlfriend who moved with me and took over admin and HR. I transferred promoting owners due to sexual harassment. So that's a pretty serious allegation. If you don't mind sharing, how were you bullied and how were you harassed?
I split from my promoting owner, which I think really pissed him off because I think I was like number 6 of like how many people he needed to get to regional consultant. And when you split off from your promoting owner for whatever reason it is, they no longer get overrides from you. When you split off, you get adopted by someone else because someone has to oversee you. Someone has to take a piece of money from your proceedings somehow. So you're brought up in this culture of spend time with your office, be with your office, know your office. And as an owner, you're taught be with your guys, know your guys, spend your time with your guys. And you're put in these situations where your friends that you knew growing up are no longer really in your life because you don't have time. And it's really sad. But those people are replaced. These people that know you and love you and care about your well-being are replaced by people who can influence your mindset. For a while, I didn't bring it up. For probably the same reasons that anybody who's been sexually harassed doesn't bring it up, because talking about it makes it real. And I think also yes, the fact that I am gay, put that level on it, and it adds another part of, like, how could that happen to me? And, that combined with we're supposed to be business partners, there's supposed to be respect. How could this happen? There's a lot of questions that go on in your mind. And in the terms of the business, it drives kind of a wedge in there. I wasn't comfortable talking to him. I wasn't comfortable being around him. And once I, promoted out, I wasn't comfortable talking to him. So I talked to other people, and probably not as much as I could have or should have. Networking was never my strong suit. And I think after that point, I kind of just shut down. I didn't get all of the help that I could have. I was super uncomfortable with certain like joking comments that he would make that to anybody else might seem just like a particular type of humor that you could either take or leave. And it probably did have an effect on my business. I'm not going to blame it on that by any means. I could have been better for my guys. I, had my own stuff going on, and frankly, success in their definition is not the same as success in my definition. And I was not comfortable with the way that the business was run on a full scale, which affected how I ran my own business. So I got out. But that is the reason that I split from my original PO, and I was living in a hotel for a while, actually, because at the beginning of, being promoted out, you don't really have stuff set. You don't always have a place to go. And especially when it's rushed, you don't have a lot planned. So I remember sitting in the hotel, and my girlfriend was definitely a rock of support for me to make this phone call. But I made the phone call, and I called my PO. Well, at first I called his PO because I was like, this is affecting me. I can't do it. This is what happened. I don't know what needs to happen next, but I cannot continue to be associated with this person. And to his credit, he was very understanding. He was very personable. He listened. He's one of the few people, I think, in the business that are genuinely actually good people. So what he's still doing in the business, I have no idea. But I made that call first, and then I called my PO, and I was just like, this is affecting me. This is how it makes me feel. I can't talk to you. It's affecting my personal life. It's affecting my business. It's affecting my mindset. It's affecting everything. I just can't do it, because this is someone that you're supposed to talk to as a new owner, like every day. You're supposed to check in with them. You're supposed to get help from them, and I wasn't doing any of that, and that's my own fault. And I'm sure from that original conversation where I called my promoting owner, I'm sure it went up to Larissa. I'm sure it went up the chain. I'm sure it went to legal. I'm sure it went to all of the places it needed to go to prepare them to cover themselves if I chose to press charges or do anything. So I'm sure there are plenty of people that are aware of it that I did not tell. And I was prepared for that to happen. So, I mean, we all know these couples are in the building or in the business. Owners that are dating their coordinators in the HR. They're married. They're this. They're that. They're the power couples, right? Mm-hmm. So it's no surprise that eventually down the line some reps get together and fall in love and do their thing, because you don't see anybody else you're quarantined into the business. You give your life and your time and everything to this opportunity that you're around these people a lot. And sometimes it happens. And they expect you to share your deepest, darkest secrets with them because, again, that's a way for them to control you because they know what you want, know what you're motivated by, and they use that against you. So they want to know everything that's going on under their roof, which people are allowed to have personal lives. Like, it's an outlet, and frankly, you need that from all the mind fucking going on. So towards the end of my time at my first office, I fell in love, and I did not tell my promoting owner because I did not deem that any of his business, and I was really uncomfortable with how it came out, frankly. So once we were down there, because my girlfriend did move with me, she did eventually transfer over into the HR side of things, which I'm sure she could give you plenty of dirt on the HR side of things, because they're their own rung in the ladder. And it eventually came out that we were together, and people didn't take it well. Rep to rep, the news flew, and the rep that eventually told my promoting owner was someone who I had considered a friend, who was on my team, and I had trained her, and we bonded, and we were supposedly friends. And she went behind my back, told my PO, and I immediately get this phone call of basically, what the hell are you doing? And it was super uncomfortable because it was like, you're not my parent, you're not in charge of me, and I am my own person. She is her own person, and if we decide, to do anything, it's none of your business. And he was just very offended that he thought we were so close, we were partners, we were business partners, we should be able to tell each other things. And it was going on under his roof. It started under his roof. He was convinced and shocked, and how could I not tell him? And it got into this whole thing of ending with the forced "I'm happy for you," but underlying layer of how is this going to complicate my own business, because everything reflects back on him. So it was out of our hands, and I don't think anybody that's never been outed would really understand this, because you do obviously put the fact that we are two women on top of it, and it's just very intrusive. It's I was a big advocate in college for LGBT rights and whatnot, and it just comes down to the fact that it's your story, and you should be able to tell it when and how you want to people of your choosing that you trust, because the world, unfortunately, is a pretty cruel place sometimes. So neither of us knew how people would react. Neither of us knew, we were still figuring out our own relationship. It was ours. We wanted it to be ours for a while, And the fact that it was told to my PO in, I personally think, not the best graces, and not with very good intentions. It was pretty damn insulting, and like I said, just really intrusive. They took that choice away.
Yeah.
I personally know of of situations where females, males fall in love, whatever, do your thing, live your life, and it's still kind of a scandal. It's still, well, why didn't you tell me? It's still, why couldn't you have found someone outside of the business? Why do you, mix business with pleasure? Like, because that adds emotion.
Sure.
And Smart Circle is a machine. Any sort of emotion, any sort of feeling, any sort of opinion that you create yourself is not really taken into their good graces. It's not something that they encourage because it's not something they can control. And they want everything to fall in line with something that's going to benefit them, to get them profit. That's why they literally hand you a script, from the systems to the pitch to the interview. Everything is scripted. There's a reason that you hear the same meetings over and over and over again, because they want to drill it into your head. That and the turnover is so damn high, they've got to repeat the same information for new people all the time anyway. That's why you hear the same crap at Dallas. That's why you hear the same stuff in your offices. That's why you can go from an office in California to an office in Florida to an office in Washington and hear the same meeting again and again and again. Because it's something they can control.
Yeah.
There's a reason they teach you how to overcome the negatives. Because they know that they're going to come up, which probably means that there's some validity in the fact that people are upset that they have no time, no money, that they think it's a pyramid scheme, because let's be real, it is. They think it's multi-level marketing, because let's be real, it is. They give you this script ahead of time so they can control how you approach the situation. So it shines better light on them.
Right. It's amazing. It's amazing how, in my research, it's just amazing how cult-like this business operates. And it comes up, and it sounds like a broken record, really. But every interview I do, that's the outcome that I see. I mean, I don't see any other way to interpret it.
And there isn't, because, like, if you walk into a normal room and say, trigger warning, hey guys.
Hey, what?
No normal room of normal people are going to respond in unison, hey what? That's not normal.
After closing your business, you said that you became a program manager,
Yep.
which you're really the first person I've talked to so far who has done that. So first, can you tell me why you decided to take on that role after seeing how much ownership was? And then secondly, what were some of your responsibilities when you took over that role?
It was an opportunity provided because, oh my gosh, it's going to be so cool. And by that time, obviously, like, I chose to close the business for a reason. I wasn't mentally stable. I wasn't emotionally stable. You don't take care of yourself, so you're probably not physically stable either. You're not really eating well if you're eating at all. So I get to that point, and, the offer was on the table, either retrain or close down. And I was like, I would like to keep at least what remains of my soul intact. So I'm done. Like, at that point, you see it. Like, that's the point that you see it. And the previous program manager for my program had left for whatever reason. Again, clouded in mystery. And they needed a new program manager. It was one of the programs that I had done actually in the field when it first started in our territory. And I think ours was one of the first that rolled out. So I had learned it from the previous PM, and I was familiar with it. I was good at it. We ran it a whole heck of a lot in my San Diego market. And again, when you close your business, you're uprooting your life just the same way you are when you open it. So you kind of need a job. So I was kind of back at that same place of, hey, I need a job. except my expectations were a lot different. I was not expecting to go very far with it. I didn't want to go very far with it. I knew from day one, like, I was going to be job searching on the side and not, you know, foreseeing myself staying in that program manager position. And it's kind of a sign when other people in the business, in different facets of the business, are telling you do the same thing. Like, hey, you're closing down. Okay, take the PM position, do, you know, whatever you need to do there, get your life in order, get your ducks in a row, and then be job searching from the very get-go. So that's what I did. But every program, like I said, is a little bit different because you're dealing with these outside companies who all have their own sales team, who all have their own marketing team, who all want their own say in how you run their product in your market. So I was doing a Costco market, a Costco product, and this particular company, I was told by, you know, the higher ups in Smart Circle that they were very hands-on. They were very involved. They wanted to be part of everything going on. They wanted to know everything that was going on, a little bit more than other like clients, other markets, other teams. And that was all well and good until we ended up with, I think, 5 calls a week. And normal programs have 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like your prep call and your, like, middle of the rotation call, help call, whatever you want to call it. So I ended up with like 5 calls a week, which put off a lot of the guys. Like, you don't want to be on 5 calls a week where, you know, my portion of it I kept to, you know, a reasonable length, but they're on the phone for like an hour with the team, the client team, who's basically telling them the opposite of everything I'm telling them. Because I'm still following your Smart Circle systems pitch and being very, I didn't like to be very aggressive. That's why I liked Costco. Going through the field, I was a Costco baby. I didn't do a lot of Sam's Club, so that was the other reason, like, the San Diego market was like, hey, it's a Costco market. It'll be good for you. You know how to do Costco really well. So I liked and very much related to the whole, like, sit back a little bit. You don't have to be quite as aggressive. I didn't like sales. And I had the client on the phone basically teaching them sell, and there wasn't anything I could do about it. I took it to my mentor, I guess, as a PM.
Yeah.
I took it to the higher ups. I took it to Jimmy. I talked to as many people as I could about this problem. I talked to the client themselves. Nothing changed. And Smart Circle is basically, you know, what client wants goes, but keep teaching our guys what we want. So I'm like, they're literally hearing polar opposite approaches. They're hearing at times differing information of the product itself. How do you expect these guys to sell anything when they're not confident in the product because they're being told different things and different ways to approach it? So it was just really confusing, and you're not supported. Obviously, I was not supported in my, you know, attempts to clarify things for the reps in the field. I would go in, basically the field work is where they want you when they want you. And you don't, what was the pay structure? The pay structure was weird. because you get like there's like a threshold you have to meet in order for you to get paid above what like minimum wage legality was to get to like the program manager actual pay.
So you're talking about like a sales threshold, how much you had to sell personally?
Total.
Okay.
Because basically out there retraining other offices guys, because you're supposed to be the best at this product. So you go out, you retrain the guys, and it's like a one-time thing because theoretically they should then train the next guy in the office, train the next guy, and the next guy, the next guy. So theoretically you work yourself out of a job because if you're doing it right, no office should really need you. You open up a new office, then that PO's, stud in that campaign would go to the new office and train the new office and then come home. So theoretically, yeah, I think it's kind of set up for you to work yourself out of a job. But you have to hit this particular threshold that is, again, decided by the higher-ups in order for you to really, like, make a profit for yourself. Honestly, it was kind of like field pay. Like, it wasn't, like, outrageously, oh, my God, program managers make so much, just like ownership wasn't, oh, my God, owners make so much. It's a picture they paint you, but that's not the reality. It's not how it comes out.
I had another owner, a former owner, tell me about she quit and they didn't want to lose her, so they offered her a program manager to kind of keep her on. I feel like they just used the position, they call it program manager to glamorize it, but it's really just a way to string people along, to maybe keep them quiet, to give them, like, here's a bone so you don't quit and you don't tell everyone how bad your experience was. Does that kind of feel like what it was?
Maybe. I think also part of it was they were desperate and they needed a program manager. And it wasn't a very widely done program. There weren't many people that knew it. There weren't many people that were good at it. And the nation as a whole was kind of struggling with it. And the region that I came from had been doing pretty well in it because I had learned literally directly from the original program manager when it was a brand new program. And I don't know why, but there were a lot of programs that started out in our region with our office as well. And I did a lot of programs in the field where it was like, here's some information about the product, go write the pitch, figure it out yourself. And we would write the pitch, and there are at least like 2, 3, 4 programs I can think of that were like that. Where, hey, go figure it out. You've got the systems. Figure it out. Plug in your information. And that's what we did.
Yeah, I don't know. One of the reasons why it might all start out there is I know that Mr. Larry, the billionaire who is the owner of everything, he has a house out there. So maybe it all kind of comes from the clown's mouth, and that's where it all starts. So that might be one of the reasons why.
Yeah, and he hosts there all the time.
Yeah.
He hosts like little meetings there to further, plug it into your brain. Because our office was out here, we would do like random lunches and trips to Larry's, and before someone promoted out, they would take their team to Larry's and meet Larry and do this whole lunch, and it was like a mini top leaders meeting type of thing, and just further plug in the lies. But that might be why most things started out here.